Welcome to our first regular season match of Mario Kart for the Mario Kart Collegiate League. I'm super excited for tonight. I mean, we got a little taste of Mario Kart earlier tonight for the Battle of the Cedar Valley, which was not the closest of games against UNI, so GG's to them. UNI is a Division II school, though, when it comes to the Collegiate Karting League. Meanwhile, Wartburg is Division 7, since this is our first ever season competing in Mario Kart, and this is our first game of the regular season versus DePaul, and we are very, very excited to get it going. I mean, this will also be a fun time to cast it as well. So they've been putting in a lot of work this whole semester so far, the Wartburg Mario Kart team, that is. And yeah, just really excited to have them get going and able to show off all that work they've been putting in so far.
There we go. It's finally. Yeah, I've seen these guys practicing a lot, and it's certainly been. No, I think I thought they were having difficulties. I think they said.
Ah, okay. Some difficulties getting the lobby
I
going.
think it's just. Unless this is real.
I'll double check.
But yeah, Okay, yeah, this is not for real yet. But yeah, you can hear the noises. You can see it. Hopefully this works this time, because it wasn't working for the Battle of the Cedar Valley. But it is Wartburg versus DePaul. It's waiting to see if there's anything going on. Deliberations and things.
Yeah, it seems like the lobby was set up incorrectly with some incorrect rules, so they got to remake the lobby. Yeah, you know, we're in the division with all the new schools to this league, which including ourselves. So a lot of learning going on right now, just how to get the lobby set up and everything. Nintendo doesn't always do the best job at making it straightforward for that.
Yeah, and even then during the Battle of Cedar Valley, when both teams were here, there was a communication error that occurred. So
yeah, I believe that happened because we were bagging too hard. And if you stay behind the finish line from start, you'll get kicked.
Interesting.
And so I think we stayed behind the finish line a little bit too long, and that kicked everybody. So hopefully that doesn't happen again tonight.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. I didn't know it was a thing either until you and I said that can happen. I said, that makes sense.
Well, this is the first game we can actually have the scoreboard up for over the cast. I guess we could for Smash, but
yeah, quick shout out to Chris right here. He's been doing all the behind the scenes work on all these streams that you guys have seen so far, doing a phenomenal job. Even figured out how to get the overlays working for all these games, even the new games like Mario Kart. Found an entire system to have it done. So shout out to Chris while we're waiting for all this.
I get paid for it.
Yeah. Hey, you've still done a great job. So
yeah, I think things are getting punched in.
Yeah, hopefully the lobby is created accurately for all of this.
I know this is the second Mario Kart game that is being streamed. However, there have been a lot of scrimmages that have gone on that have been not streamed, and from what I've heard, those have been against teams in much higher divisions, and we've kind of held something.
Yeah, we did hold our own. When we did scrim UNI earlier a few weeks ago, and they had their 3 best players of their varsity team, and then the 3 best players of their JV team. So that's why we kind of were able to hold our own a little bit. But as we saw earlier today, they had their 6 varsity, and it wasn't even close. But other teams, that were division or 2 higher than us, we scrimmaged, and we did hold our own there. We scrimmaged Co earlier as well. They're 1 division above us, and they did beat us, but it was not by much. Like, could have gone either way, and I think we've improved a lot since then. So excited a lot for tonight's game. I have no idea how good our opponents are going to be, because since we're in the lowest division of all the new schools, it's the wild card division. Literally all these teams just have no prior data on how good they are. So we could be destroying everybody in our division. We could destroy some people, and then other people would completely destroy us. It's just going to be the most
interesting. I think is
impossible to know what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Division that is in this league. So should make for really fun nights, though.
Yep. The Collegiate Karting League split up into 7 divisions. I think it's close to 8 or 10 teams per. I know we have
pretty
7
close
in
to that.
ours. We have 7 in our division, but that's because it's the lowest division. And I think we have 7 at least. I could be wrong.
Around there. I didn't double check exactly
Yeah.
how many schools.
But yeah,
So they just finalized them all last night, so I haven't had
Yep.
a chance to look yet.
yeah, split into 7 divisions. Of course, the higher the division, the better you are, as Fish said. Played against the Division 2 team earlier for that stream. When the overlay wasn't working, it should be working now. I think we're finally getting to map selection, so I'll go back over to my little booth.
Yes, hopefully we get that all working. Yeah, we're good to go. We just got the thumbs up. So, yeah, picking the courses now. And we'll see. Unfortunately, since the way Mario Kart spectating works, we're only going to see 2 of the competitors rather than all of them, as you can see in other games. But we should still get a decent amount of information from how everything else is going.
Without a doubt. And the 2 players that are going to be a little loud.
Also, typically one team will all vote for the same map. So it's a little interesting that we see DePaul all voting for different maps. And one of those gets picked, so it's going to Wario Stadium, I believe is the name of this course. Yes, Wario Stadium. Which this course actually has a lot of tech to it. There's one part with several ramps and boost pads that happen at the same time. I'll point it out when we get there. And you actually optimally do not want to trick off of all of those ramps. You want to do a series of these kind of like hops and everything so you can hit all of them in the proper path.
The 2 players that we are watching on the left, Lewis and Clark on the right, John long gone. It's going to be interesting to follow.
So a pretty strong start now from the 2 players we see here. That is the series of ramps I was talking about earlier. No, actually, this is the series of ramps I was talking about earlier. Optimally, you don't trick off of all of those. Actually, maybe it was the first one. The smaller mounds, you don't want to trick off all of them. Otherwise, you might end up going too fast and you don't hit everything properly. But definitely a fun course overall. I know this is a little bit of a fan favorite from some.
Yeah, DS tracks, really anything from either DS or 3DS, they're typically held in higher regard just because of the designs of them.
Yeah, first place getting sniped out. We had first and second there for a little bit, but in the nature of Mario Kart, you can see Lewis and Clark just falling from 2nd to 11th after getting hit by 1 item.
I think more than once we're going to hear specifically Lukey screaming, "I've been Mario Karted."
Yeah. Not sure how much the stream can hear from the background, but the players are just outside of our room, so you can hear all those comms going on.
It is also, just given the amount of chaos that happens, of course in every other game there's a million callouts, but just the amount of information that's on the screen at all times, every player is yelling at once.
Yeah, it's an incredibly tough game. So frequently when I say that we're competing in Mario Kart, people are like, Mario Kart? The game that's all luck-based, the party game for children? And that is not the case. There's actually so much skill that goes into this game when it comes to just your pure racing skill, when it comes to item management, when it comes to teamwork and team item management. There's so much that goes into it. For example, there is no team settings turned on in this match, which means you can hit your teammates with items. Your teammates are not invincible when it comes to your items. So if you get very powerful items like lightning, aka shock, as they like to call it, the shock is the best item in the game by far because you can time it so all of your teammates use either a star or a bullet or a ghost, something like that all happens at the same time where you try to dodge the shock as much as possible, all at the same time allowing most of your team to push ahead. And that's the first race done. We will take a look at the standings here.
Let's see.
Or we're just going to head right into the...
Yeah, I'm going to ask to make sure I got most of them, but I'll just double check that.
And Moo Moo Meadows looks like it's going to be the pick now from Wartburg. Another interesting thing about the way Mario Kart lobbies work is you would think that we would just alternate picks, one team, the other team, one team, the other team. But turns out that it's just kind of random who gets to pick their course. So same team could get it twice in a row, but it does end up being Wartburg's pick of Moo Moo Meadows.
So I think those scores are correct there.
All right, so Wartburg coming out on top after race 1. Yeah, the scores happen fast. They don't show you for very long. off to race number 2 here. A lot going on, especially in the middle of the pack. There's just so many people clumped up, just so many items getting flung around. You got to be really careful about just getting hit by everything.
And also another thing, a strategy, most of the time, you don't want the same people running up front a lot of the time. Of course, in case you didn't know, a gimmick, one of the mechanics, I say gimmick, but it basically is a mechanic whenever it's a Mario Kart gimmick.
Yeah.
One of the mechanics of Mario Kart is the further up you start, the less coins you start with. So a lot of times, if you're in the back, you might want to be going forward, trying to get any positions because you have more coins to default with, and coins do increase your speed.
Yeah, your maximum speed. If you've ever played Mario Kart and you're looking at your character select screen, there's all those bars for your stat. Every coin is essentially a half a bar to your speed stat. So at 10 coins, you have 5 extra bars of speed, which is a huge difference. You see those coins at the bottom left. Johnny now in first place with 10 coins and a shell to play defense. That is a great look now. Not sure if Wartburg has position over 2, but if you can get the first 2 positions in Mario Kart, it's very, very helpful because first person only would have to worry about blue shells at that point because player number 2 could defend from any incoming red shells.
It looks like that is an orange Yoshi following behind.
And most likely we are the orange Yoshis. I know most of us are playing orange characters. We got Daisy, Birdo, and orange Yoshis going on. First and fourth on this screen here. It looks like we got third as well, and maybe even second. We got top 4. Top 4 generally indicates a huge lead in a race. So phenomenal placements there from Wartburg.
I got to start taking screenshots of this. It's too fast.
Yeah, the scores go by real quick.
Once again, ask them.
Yeah, make sure you ask them to take a screenshot as well.
You guys keep taking them out.
And it looks like the pick from Wartburg is going to be Neo Bowser City. This is a course that Wartburg has worked very hard on from the get-go. A lot of fundamentals in that course when it comes to just drifting in general. So we made sure we knocked that course out of the park from day 1. Doesn't end up getting picked here, though. Going to be picked from DePaul. Royal Raceway, which this is another great track. I love this track. There's some cool tech that goes into this one as well. I'm not sure if we'll see too many people doing it here, but on the big glider section, it is actually more optimal in Mario Kart to glide sideways. You actually go faster. So you'll see people drift off of the glider section to enter the glider sideways and then completely just, fly sideways back onto the main track. It looks like it would not be optimal, but it is. It's Mario Kart for you.
Yeah, it's part of the reason why on some circuits, depending on what you're doing, turning on the auto steer is a big
it is
plus.
optimal. Not sure if people do that, if that's even allowed actually in our league or not. But we do see Lewis and Clark now in first place.
John Long on a second.
Yeah, we don't see either player really doing the huge glider strat. Typically, you want to do that with motion controls turned on, and it's more of a time trial world record setting strat. And it looks like Wartburg right now has top 3 spots. Actually insanely powerful to hold all of those spots. Now, basically, they just have to worry about either a big lightning coming through, big shock, or a blue shell. And even a blue shell won't be too big of a deal as they have so many of those positions. As John Longgong gets kind of bumped out by a Funky Kong right there into a Piranha Plant. That's going to knock him back down to 9th. But Lewis and Clark, 10 coins in first. Holding a coin in front of his banana. The reason you want to do that is so you can, in case a ghost comes and steals your item, you still have your defense ready to go. Now, you're going to see him get rid of both those items there as he goes through a double item block, hoping to get the horn, the kind of speaker, which is one of the few items in the game that can actually destroy a blue shell.
And that was added in 8, correct?
I believe so. I don't think that was in any of the other games.
I don't remember it being in 7.
You can also dodge a blue shell with a mushroom in this game if you time it right, but you cannot get a mushroom in first place. You can get the speaker in first place. And you only want to cycle those items if you have second place behind you to kind of play defense for you, which in this case we do right now. So you'll see Lewis and Clark continue to cycle those items, but John Longgong going to get taken out right there by some red shells.
Another thing to note about whenever getting a coin in first place, Normally you want to get the double no matter what, but if you find yourself ending up with a single and you end up with a coin, a lot of times people will hold on to that because you just cannot have 2 coins at once in your inventory.
And we're going to see, even with the blue shell coming in, Lewis and Clark securing that first. But yes, you cannot have two coins like you were saying earlier. So ideally, you will just have... you'll have 1 coin, and then the next item will not be a coin. I believe in first place, you have about a 70% chance of grabbing a coin in an item block. So it's really important you hold on to 1 coin to ensure that 70% chance is not hit on the second item.
Yeah, first and then 6th through 10th there for Wartburg. So -2 on the makeup for DePaul.
Yeah, we had some really good spots there for a second, but just didn't end with them, and that's what matters.
That is one thing about this system that we're using, this Discord bot that we're using. It gives a lot of stats, actually, for the teams. Like, it actively gave me the difference in what the makeup was. So, and then also you can see the difference there for the live score, in case you didn't want to have to calculate that in your head, especially since these numbers get so big.
Yeah, they get really big. And the difference on a runaway game can be huge, too. And Wartburg gets their pick of Neo Bowser City. We have high expectations now for the Wartburg crew here. I love the aesthetic of this, the cyberpunk Bowser theme. I wish a Mario game would take place here. And this is also a great pick for Wartburg to get this now, because Lewis and Clark is in first place. He also has a great time trial record on this course. Unfortunately, he did get that 70% coin drop on the first item, unable to dodge that first shell. Because it would have been nice to have Lewis and Clark front running on this map. Which, front running, for all you new Mario Karters out there, is when you are in the front, in first place, and you are just trying to play as fast as possible to maintain that lead. Where bagging, in short for sandbagging, is when you are closer to the back end and you're just kind of farming for some really good items to try to make a comeback there at the end. Sandbagging is a lot better on maps that have really good shortcuts where you need mushrooms to go through them. And typically you're going to get those mushrooms in those lower places. But Lewis and Clark does make his way back to second place now with 3 mushrooms to spare. Unfortunately for this course, this is a great front-running course, so mushrooms aren't going to be super good for shortcuts. But if you can maintain this mushroom into first place, then you can use them to dodge the blue shell that might come for him. DePaul currently in first. Wartburg has second and third. Now, there is a good mushroom shortcut right there that you saw Lewis and Clark take to get that first spot. Now, 2 mushrooms to go. Hopefully, those don't get shocked out of them.
Yeah, that is always the risk that you're running. And I believe it's only 1 shock can be held at a time in the game at all, correct?
I believe, yes. If somebody has shock, then nobody else will be getting shock. But unfortunately, though, for Lewis and Clark, is he has no red shell protection right now. So he's going to have to risk holding onto this red shell.
Does also have a DePaul player right behind him.
Yeah, as John Longon just threw a red shell as that second place. So any red shell that DePaul might have had in second place is probably gone. Oh, but the red shell coming through there on the glider is able to maintain that first place position. Well executed from Wartburg right there. And that's going to be a third place too. Oh my gosh, the top 3 were incredibly far ahead of everybody else. Looks like Wartburg's getting 4th and 5th probably. It was a bullet bill there at the end. Really hard to tell right now.
Yeah.
4th and 6th. 4th and 6th. Wartburg came through.
A very nice race result. .38-point swing in that one race.
Well, 12-point swing.
Sorry,
now,
yeah,
38 difference in the entire series so far, or the war as they call it in Mario Kart. A 6v6 race is referred to as a war format, which I love that. Puts a little bit of a dark twist on such a not dark game.
Yeah, the biggest swing so far in these races. Everything's been positive except for the third race. 22 points went to the way of Wartburg in that second race, and that's really what this lead's been established on. Just going to keep trying to build from it.
Yeah, the top 4 placements on that one. And now Wartburg's pick coming out again. 2 times in a row here.
It is 12 races per each. It's essentially game series, whatever you want to call it. But it is 12 races before we find a winner.
A little waterfall you saw right there on the right side of those players' screens. If you have a mushroom, you can actually go right through there. So decent bagging track as well for those sections. And you'll see upcoming here, there are some grassy sections you can also mushroom through towards the end. Or you see Lewis and Clark right there just taking that entire shortcut just with a hop. Doesn't even need a mushroom to go through there. Lewis and Clark doing a great job front running right now. Is going to need to get some coins. Gets 2 right there. That should kind of make his lead a little bit more concrete, but somehow doesn't block that red shell with that mushroom. Not sure how that happened. Fun fact about this map, if you look at the mini map in the middle, the entire course is actually shaped like a Yoshi.
I think adding the Yoshi minimap kind of ruins the surprise of it. Because normally you just find out because it's like, oh, this is a really cool fact, but I kind of just put it front and center.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they do say that, but when I was a kid, I never even noticed that until I had raced on this about 30 times. And it wasn't even until my brother pointed it out to me. Oh, and Lewis and Clark gets a little bit the short end of the stick as that tire gets just like thrown out in front of him, bumps him to the side, and now he's all the way back in 9th. Well, that's Mario Kart for you. You see these tires kind of just popping out. Anything could happen. There's so many items. See the fire flower getting spammed backwards. Lewis and Clark getting a hit on that. Now it has the mushrooms to take this shortcut.
Orange Yoshi way ahead of this Inkling that's here from Bus of DePaul.
Yeah, so Wartburg has first place right now. All these orange Yoshis you see on the map are all Wartburg. I believe that there's none from DePaul rocking the orange.
No, I think DePaul also, it was pointed out as like a sort of weird by the players that DePaul isn't really running any of the quote-unquote meta characters outside of maybe the Funky Kong.
Oh, that is quite strange. I don't even think Funky Kong is meta in this game. Was meta in Wii, as Lewis and Clark just gets Mario Karted right there. Hit by an item right before the finish line. But Wartburg still with a great showing even despite that. And you'll see pretty frequently there is one weight class that is generally agreed upon to be the best character in the game with the Teddy Buggy and roller wheels, and that is the Yoshi weight class. So that includes Yoshi, Peach, Daisy, Birdo, and maybe one other character, not sure. I think Peachette is also in that weight class, but so that's the most common kind of cart setup you'll see is especially Yoshi. Most people run the Yoshi with that setup.
It's the first time I've had to been asked for the score, I guess. The perks of the overlay.
Now Wildwood's coming out. This is the pick from DePaul. I love this course. Absolutely adore this course. I think it's beautiful. I think it's fun. I think it's got all the things you want in a Mario Kart course.
That's something that's really interesting about Mario Kart is the way it presents itself. At least its courses are so joyous and so bright, but as soon as you go into the menus, it's like the most serious thing of all time.
That is true. Not sure whose idea that was. But yeah, the addition of coins in, well, it wasn't in this Mario Kart. I believe it was Mario Kart 7 that first introduced coins. Yes. Is really a unique idea because frequently the coins are a little bit out of the way because in order to get the most out of your turns, you want to cut the turns as tight as possible. But frequently the coins are in the middle of the turn, so you have to sacrifice a little bit of like speed on a specific turn in order to get the maximum speed for the future.
John Longon throwing that red there, instantly hit into the wall before he went zero grav.
Yeah, that was so strange. And something about Mario Kart as well is when you're playing online like these players are, the players on their screen are not always actually in that exact position on your opponent's screen. So sometimes you'll get hit by items that look like they're nowhere near you, or sometimes you will hit people with items that are nowhere near you as well. And I think that red shell might have been one of them where he threw the red shell and it hit somebody on their screen, but not quite on his screen.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll normally expect when you see a triple shell swinging around people, if you bump into them, you normally do get hit, but because of that lag, sometimes you just kind of sit next to them.
Yeah. And now the Rang coming out from John Longon. Now in first. Oh, might get bumped off. No, great save there. The reason that the Rang is so good is because it's the one item in the game that can go through a trailing item. So even if somebody's trailing a shell behind them and you hit them with the boomerang, it'll go through, it'll break that item and hit them still. So a great item to have when you're in kind of that third or second position.
It's also the only multi-use item that isn't on a timer.
Correct. You can throw it up 3 times, and the third time you throw it, it just kind of cruises forward for quite the distance. And a first place from John Longon. Oh, and a green shell going to snipe Lewis and Clark right there. Drop them down 2 places.
Everything except for first place in the top 5 was DePaul.
That is one of the dangers right there, as you saw Lewis and Clark driving in that straight line, trying to get to the finish line. That is, I mean, it's ideal. The fastest line from point A to point B is just a straight line. But when you are going in a straight line, you are a pretty easy target for snipes. And still a very close race so far. Just a 30-point difference after all these races. Anybody's game for sure. We'll see what race it is. It's going to be Wartburg's pick here.
Sweet Canyon.
Sweet Canyon is the name of it. I couldn't remember the name. I was going to call it Cake Town just because that was the first thing that popped to my mind. But
it's the Luncheon Kingdom from Odyssey, right?
No idea. No idea. Never played Odyssey.
Really?
Yeah. Not the biggest platformer guy. 3D or 2D. Even though I've heard Odyssey is fantastic.
It is. Lost game of the year only to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, that makes sense. 2 Nintendo games. That's kind of wild.
Well, it was... Who could have guessed that peak of the Switch was the start of the Switch?
Yeah, yeah.
Just
excited for Switch 2. I mean, speaking of Switch 2 and Mario Kart, there's been a lot of kind of sneak peeks into what the future Mario Kart will hold. And it looks like there's going to be 24 players rather than 12 per match.
It's
Not sure if that's
lot.
always going to be the case or if that's just going to be an option. But 24 players will change a lot, especially when it comes to like item distribution. So interested to see how that goes. And I've also heard some leaks of what the new gimmick will be, that there might not be coins anymore, but instead will be a gas tank type of mechanic, as most of the carts look to have some sort of tank on the sides of all their cars.
And also in the sneak peek of, I guess it's Mario Kart 10, technically.
Well, maybe not. It depends if you count Mario Kart Tour as
I've heard
Mario
Nintendo
Kart.
Counts it as Mario Kart 9.
Yeah.
So. But, yeah, in the trailer, you can see a gas station with what looks to be a bag under it, and a lot of people have been speculating what that bag means.
Yeah. It's like a glowing gold thing.
It's really interesting.
Back to this race, as we take a look here, you see DePaul, that player playing Inkling, just running away with this one, way in the front. Also, I've noticed that there's been no shocks yet.
No.
Blue Shell is on its way. That's going to be helpful for Wartburg, you know. But no shocks yet. This could be the first race you see a shock. Usually, you only see shocks when either first is really far ahead or last is really far back. I think it's just the distance between first and last. A certain threshold needs to be met in order for shocks to be an option that people can get. So, likely, if out of any race, this could be the race to see it. This race is basically over now, so maybe not. Second and third, a little bit of a team hit right there between Lewis and Clark and John Longon. Fortunately, it did not drop John Longon down any more places. But John Longon taking the first place overall in this entire race. Cool to see.
DePaul slowly but surely shortening the gap back down to 28 points.
Yeah, it's really going back and forth. And in Mario Kart especially, like, all it takes is one bad race from one team or a good race from the other team, and that can really make a huge swing in the amount of points that can happen.
all going back to the Tokyo track.
And Cheap Cheap Beach going to be Wartburg's pick, and it will be selected. Wow, it's been Luke's pick so many times.
One thing to say about our setup here in the Wartburg esports room, we do have 2 people per switch. A lot of the teams, they'll just have players bring their own and they'll play on those. So that's something that's different, but which is why for all of us, you'll see 2 people selecting everything at the exact same time, whereas other teams will have them. Sometimes it's just singles.
And there is advantages and disadvantages to both. I mean, the disadvantage of having 2 people per switch is just your screen's a little bit narrower. You can't quite see as much on the course, which it can hinder you a little bit. But the benefit of it is that you can almost kind of screen peek your teammates. So you can see what place they're in, you can see what items they have, and kind of work together based off that.
Yeah, without having to rely on the call-outs, you can just process the information for yourself.
Because there is so much going on that it can be hard to know exactly what your team's doing, and just a little bit easier to just kind of peek over. As you see, both players here smartly just waiting, hitting their brakes before that item block so they can be in those last places before taking the double item block to try to get the best items possible, both of which getting triple mushroom and star, which not a bad combo, but not the best combo you can get in last place. Something like a bullet could have been a little bit better, or maybe even shock. As, again, we still have yet to see shock, but the Inkling player from DePaul, once again, running away with this one.
That's really we also saw that in the game against UNI, where one of theirs kind of just went forever away. It is a completely different game, having to play with the pack rather than way ahead of it.
Yeah, very, very different game at that point. And it's different if you're way ahead of the pack and your team has second and maybe even third or not. Oh, there's the shock. We see it finally. That's going to be a dodge for John Longon, as he's probably going to be cruising with this golden mushroom way past everybody.
Into a triple.
I'm not sure which team had that shock.
One of the Wartburg Yoshis taking first.
A blue shell looks like that's going to be headed to knock Berg out of first place and into second place in the final lap of this race. Okay, here we go. Somehow, John Longon cruised all the way to first.
That is kind of just how Mario Kart goes. You can assume one thing, and then it changes completely by the time the race is over.
Yeah, shock and a blue shell really just changes a lot. And Wartburg actually getting positive points. I didn't expect that from looking at those top few places, as DePaul had second and third, but I guess Wartburg had them beat out in the next places down.
Yeah, 4th, 5th, 7th, 8th, and filling out that middle.
Oh yeah, that'll do it. Really, getting those top spots are really good, and avoiding the bottom spots is really important.
Yeah, so long as you find yourself really, I was going to say 8th, but really like 9th, 10th, and above, so long as you aren't getting the minimum points of 11th and 12th.
Yeah, I believe 12th gets actually 0 points.
I think it's 1 always. I think you're guaranteed
it's
1
1.
point.
Still not a whole lot.
No.
Yeah, this is the 9th race, so there will be 3 more races after this one. And this course, a little bit more of one of the straightforward courses. Not a whole lot to it. Great racing fundamentals are required as you hit the right lines, get those coins, and just try to stay ahead of the pack as much as possible. There are a few mushroom cuts, like at the very end here, you can hit some pretty good cuts. It's also possible to do it without a mushroom. And a great speaker there from John Longon, as he purposely slams on his brakes to hit as many people with that speaker as he can, just allowing Lewis and Clark to get as much of a lead as possible.
And I think that's Cookie Cat right behind as well in second.
Yes, yes, it is. And Lewis and Clark not getting the best shortcut there. Gets kind of caught on some of those tires, but didn't slow him down too much. And that Inkling right behind him is able to take that spot from in front of him. The green shell is going to miss. But Lewis and Clark with the showing some course knowledge right there, able to take a little bit of a shortcut using his mini turbo to hop over the grass and going to take the lead right back. And now just got Inkling with that bomb he tossed behind him, really surmounting this lead into first right before the end there. Oh, and Cookie Cat's going to get caught by something. There's going to be a big shock right at the end. That's going to hurt Wartburg.
It'll be interesting to see how this flips. Still decent.
Still decent, actually, yeah. Maybe it didn't do too much. It was a little too late, as some people had already crossed the finish line at that point.
Yeah, positive of 2.
And now just 3 more races left. I mean, 36 is looking a lot better when there's 3 races left than it was before.
Without a doubt. And that's coming from a game where Wartburg lost pretty handedly to UNI.
Yeah, like a 200-point difference.
It was, I think, it was almost 300.
Yeah, wait, I'll just pull it up right now. Let's see what the actual score was versus UNI. Yeah, 265-point difference. From UNI had that many more points than us.
It's going to be Shy Guy Falls. A lot of Wartburg tracks, actually.
All right, and we're off on this 10th race here. This is another race that I just love the aesthetic of. Like waterfalls, yet it's like Shy Guys doing some sort of like mining work going on here. And Lewis and Clark takes an unfortunate hit at that red shell right as you're entering that kind of water zone that pushes you backwards. Both these players now kind of caught in that pack where one bomb could go off and explode everyone. But John Longon able to take that shortcut right there with those mushrooms he got. Going to put him all the way into first place. And the red shell is also going to hit the person behind him too. But second red shell's on his way. Not able to get a dodge in time. But still maintaining a good place after all that. On the left side here, we can see Lewis and Clark has a star, hoping for a shock there. But instead just going to pop that star, try to run up as many places as possible. John Longon with the speaker now, but going to get caught by a fireball. The speaker's not going to do much when you're all the way back in 10th. That's an item you want when you're up in a higher spot.
It's looking like top 3 at least, maybe even top 4 is all in favor of DePaul right now. Well, I see one Yoshi in there. That's second place.
Wilson Clark going to use that mushroom to get back up to 3rd, though. But Boomerang coming out. You're going to boomerang him right back. Gets 2 of them with 1 boomerang. That's a huge item usage. We can kind of hear behind us that Lewis and Clark is calling out those triple bananas and what place he's in. It's important to communicate when you get any sort of triple item, like triple shells or your triple bananas, because if anyone's near you, they can get hit. So you want to make sure that your teammates stay as far away from you as possible as he gets sniped by a green shell right there. Phenomenal placement from DePaul right there with that green shell. This could be a race. It's a big swing
John
for DePaul.
Longon has the shock. And Cookie Cat has the crazy 8.
And no dodge coming out right there from anybody. Man, maybe the shock's not even going to be used?
That doesn't, right at the end, didn't make a difference really.
Yeah, it seemed like he just ended up holding it since it probably would have hurt more than it helped in that position. And that seemed like it was a pretty good race for DePaul. Let's see what the point difference is here.
Yeah, 11th and 12th isn't going to help there. 8-point swing. So actually, that first place really helping.
Yeah, yeah. And 2 more races. We're down to the final 2. As you see, DD Bus lets everyone know they're using tilt controls.
They are using tilt controls. It's going to be interesting to see potentially a tour circuit. That is one thing that some teams will actually rely a lot on depending on how much they've practiced, because not everybody practices the tour courses, and they change quite a bit between laps.
Yeah. Tour courses, not people's favorites. They're pretty straightforward. I mean, if you know them, there's not a whole lot of shortcuts or anything to do. So we're going to see one here. Tokyo Blur. Yeah, usually not a whole lot of shortcuts. Pretty straightforward. You just have to know they usually change a decent amount between lap. So you got to know sometimes you turn right, sometimes you turn left. But as long as you know that, they're usually pretty straightforward. But I believe this is one of the more interesting of the tour courses.
Actually looking like tour gameplay here with the vertical screens for each. Yeah, you can even see it in the minimap there. Just the amount of different paths and branches. It gets really interesting.
And the double item blocks are also pretty interesting when you're in the middle of the pack, because you obviously want that double item block to help you get out of the pack. But if somebody right in front of you just steals that double item block right in front of you, then you're left with no items. Sometimes better to just take the single. And John Longon comes out of all that in first after being able to take that shroom cut.
Yeah, the polar opposites on each side here for Wartburg.
Oh, gets caught by the thwomp. That's devastating. Slows down a little bit not to get caught by those triple shells. Double reds. Gonna have to make sure that he doesn't hit his teammates here with these. And Lewis and Clark gonna use that same shroom cut there on the left side of the screen. He gets triples, still down in 11th though, as John Longon tries to make this comeback from 5th. Not the best items to do so right now. Quadruple greens, that's a tough break there, because you have to make sure you don't hit your teammates that are ahead of you. Just going to back toss all of them. Get some new items. Gets a speaker. Okay, Wartburg does have first place currently as that bomb takes out both players on this screen right now. And Wartburg got first place there. Seeing Orange Yoshi finishing 8th and 11th here from these players.
Yeah, that.
Oh, that's a
2
huge
through 4th.
swing for DePaul. The first place is definitely going to hold some space, though. That's for sure. Heading into the last track, Wartburg just needs to hold on to this lead here. They can't have a horrible race. And only a 4-point swing, actually. That first place really coming in clutch. So now it's up to final race here. They're picking their track. Looking like it's pretty Wartburg favored. I mean, 24 points is tough to overcome in one race, but it's never over till it's over.
Yeah, anything like a 1-2 is really going to help DePaul here. It'll be a huge swing. A lot of it comes down to those middle places.
Now, this is, if this is the course I'm thinking of, which I'm pretty sure it is, the end, there is one of the biggest shortcuts in all of Mario Kart. There's a big grassy area as you kind of go through the forest, and if you have triple mushrooms or a star, you can just cut out like half of the track. So fishing for triple shrooms or a star and waiting for that next little bit is extremely important.
John Longon burning out.
Yeah, doing it on purpose, hoping to get some coins and eventually get some better items so they can take that shortcut and then be in a better spot for the future.
Triple and a star for John Longon.
And let's see what Lewis and Clark gets right here. This could be the make or break. He gets a quadruple shrooms, uses one of them. Doesn't take the mega shortcut, but that grass area right there to the right, you can just mushroom through that whole thing, but opts to get a double item block instead. And now gets quadruple shrooms, still not cutting through. He doesn't want to go forward yet. I guess maybe trying to fish for shock.
A blue in the hands of John Longon gets sent.
I guess typically if you are going for that shortcut, you would want to wait until maybe the last lap to try to send it. So you'll still see a lot of these players sitting back in lower positions.
And one thing to note about when you said with the triples, you don't want to get close to other drivers. In this game, whenever you're in a zero gravity section, if you go off of other drivers, you do get a speed boost, actually. So a lot of the times you want to get close to another driver so you're able to bounce off of them.
And here we go. We see Lewis and Clark with the triple mushrooms now going for this just cut across the grass. You can just kind of go across this whole thing. Oh, gets caught behind the tree. Hopefully it'll still be all right. There's a little ramp there to make sure you get out okay. And there we go. He was in like 9th or 8th place, now in 4th. Going to get hit by a red shell, though, for his troubles. And a hit by a rock. Luckily, he ends on the boost pad to just get sped right back up. So maybe didn't net for a whole lot, but there's one more lap to go here.
John Longon using the pipe steam. It does.
Try to go across there. And now Lewis and Clark now in 8th place gets the triple shrooms. Probably just going to want to save those for the mega shortcut once again.
Very close race.
And probably a lot of people doing the same. You see people go over this pipe. No, it doesn't look like too many people are. Squid going to go for the same thing, but get hit by a red shell in the process. Has the mushrooms to make it, though. This could probably be a very good race for Wartburg now. Last lap, lots of people doing the triple shroom cut.
John Longon hitting it himself.
Oh, and Lewis and Clark running into the rock. Blue shell on the way. Who's it going to hit? It's going to go past Lewis and Clark.
Is it going to land before? No, not before the finish line.
It looks like 3rd and 4th place there on this screen, and probably 1st and 2nd going the way of DePaul. Not the greatest race for Wartburg right now, but DePaul going to have to overcome a 24-point difference. And now you can see the final point list right there. The total will determine everything as we enter the final scores here.
Oh, I think I hit the... Trying to figure out what this was. There we go.
As we're getting the final scores entered right now into this overlay to do the math for us.
Also, I think they are double-checking it on their side.
Yeah, 10-point difference. So, yeah, probably Wartburg's worst race there so far on that last track, but Wartburg still holds the lead. It looks like we're going to double-check on our opponent's end and also on our end, do the math of all of these to make sure that these scores are correct. But right now, it's looking like it's a Wartburg Dug in our first ever competition. Now, normally we play 2 games every week. The second game got rescheduled to Wednesday this week, so stay tuned for Wednesday at 8. Probably won't be on stream because that'll be the MVEC Overwatch game on stream.
Mario Kart, the first game that we've had here that we've had to consistently confirm with not only ourselves but with our opponents.
Yeah, the score is not the easiest to keep track of as you're going, especially in a game that's not designed for 6v6 like this. Got some good games. Thanks for playing, coming out from DePaul. Great sportsmanship. Love to see it. Was a ton of fun. Ton of fun watching this, playing it, and yeah, great first game from Wartburg. Great first showing. So really excited about that. Great to start off our first game of the season with a dub. And hopefully there's many more to come as we head into this season. Lots more games to be played, lots more Mario to be karted, and it should be a great season. Really excited for the work that all these players have put in and continue to put in. And hopefully we can maybe even win it all as we go into this wild card division. Great first showing from Wartburg. So thanks for tuning in. Tune in again on Wednesday for some more Overwatch, and have a great night.
Where am I going now? Just falling over dreams. Now I'm just so far gone, this isn't what it seems. Taking me so damn long, it's fading from belief. I need to slow this down, it's burning from beneath.